I would like to thank Nambe for allowing me to participate in this testing of the saute pan that I was so graciously able to procure through the program that they had on my email. And the things that I'd like to discuss, first of all, before I make what I thought was a simple meal in this. I had contemplated making a fricassee or something more difficult, but I thought for the first time I would introduce a simple meal to show people that they can make both a simple and elegant meal in this beautiful pan, which is, in my opinion, not only excellent in design, but excellent in being able to cook well any food that you put into it. And I'd like to show you how the inside is, that this is very important because it keeps the foods warm and even temperature when it's cooking in the oven. You can either use a covered part of the saute pan or you can do it open. What I decided to make were an old Greek recipe, a provincial recipe of eggs with feta cheese and vegetables. I hope you all will enjoy it while I'm cooking it, and you can see how wonderful the pan cooks evenly, the eggs and all the ingredients that I'm putting into it. And I will begin now. Thank you.
Start. Cool.
The first thing that I'm going to do is put the butter in the saute pan, and I'm using about 6 tablespoons of sweet butter. I found that sweet butter makes the eggs more palatable and tasty and less salt in my recipe. So next thing I'm doing, I put a little bit of 100% virgin olive oil with the butter because it gives it a very provincial taste, and it does something to the eggs that makes them taste just wonderfully. Let me do this for you and show you how I do it. So you can see how evenly the pan cooks, melts the butter, and how the olive oil mixes so well with the sweet butter. I let it warm a little bit before I put in the other ingredients. And the first ingredient that I'm going to put in is the onions. I used half of a Vandalia onion. Can you hear how the butter is beginning to warm? Perfect for my onions. I'm using a half of a Vandalia onion because it's a very sweet onion, and 2 stalks of green onions. If you don't want to use the green onions, you can also use chives. They basically are almost the same. I prefer to use a green onion cut in very small pieces, as you can see. Okay? And I leave this cook until the onions have sauteed. You don't really want to get them dark. You want to keep them just long enough to cook in the pan. And then the next thing I'm going to do is get the other ingredients that I use. I'm going to use zucchini squash. This is 1 1/2 zucchini squash to give it that really nice flavor to the eggs. Okay? This is a meal that I used to make when I was first married with my husband and I on a Sunday night when sometimes friends would drop over, and you know, as a young couple right out of college, We always didn't have the greatest menus to go with, but everybody enjoyed my eggs, and especially this recipe of eggs. So what I'm doing now is cooking this. This should take about, I would say 6 to 8 minutes to soften. All you want is your ingredients to be soft before you add the egg mixture. Okay? One moment now. Now, I don't use salt because I'm using feta cheese, and it has, in my opinion, enough salt to taste. Now, afterwards, if you like to use more salt, that's just fine. And another thing that you do in this provincial dish is you add tomatoes. Now, the tomatoes that I use are the plum tomatoes because they are a firmer tomato when you cook. And if you see how beautiful the colors are in this, it makes a really beautiful presentation. And in this beautiful saute pan, I hope it will do the pan, I hope, justice. And like I said, this is a wonderful, wonderful meal on a Sunday evening during any time. It's light. It doesn't have, it's not really calories, you know, if you're counting your calories. It's not a heavy meal for a Sunday night. So I'm going to leave this now cook a little bit before I add the feta cheese. And I have 2 tablespoons of freshly grated Romano cheese that I put in here. It gives it that little tang. Okay? As you see, my mixture of tomatoes, onions, and baby zucchini squash has cooked sufficiently that I can now put in the feta cheese. Now, always make sure that your tomatoes are soft. They don't have to be totally firm. They have to be a little bit soft so that when the egg mixture is put in here, it makes it very palatable. Very palatable. Now, as you see, I'm putting in the feta cheese. How much cheese am I using? I'm using about, I would say, quarter of a pound, which is really not a lot of cheese. It really isn't. It's just enough to give the mixture that real zing of a taste, that real provincial Greek flavor to your mixture. And you don't want to mix it too much. You want to let it soften up a little bit, just like this. And I'm adding the 2 tablespoons, as you see, of Romano cheese over this. And I'm letting it cook a little bit before I add the eggs. Now, the eggs that I used were cage-free organic eggs, which make the best omelet. They are tasty and wonderful. I used 8 eggs, and I French whipped them. They're all ready. Let me do it a little bit more so you see. See the color? The color of the egg is so beautiful. Now, if you cannot have the yellow of the egg because of your cholesterol, you can use just the egg whites, but use fresh egg whites. Don't get the frozen ones or the ones in packages that they sell in the store. Separate your egg and use the egg white, the fresh egg white from a organic cage-free egg. See how nice it's coming along? Now it's going to cook at a very slow speed. As you can see, the presentation, the color, the green, all these colors that are mixed in make a very tasty and delectable meal. Now, if you feel that there is not enough salt, you can add it. Or you can add a little bit of white pepper. I prefer, if you're going to use pepper, to use white pepper as opposed to the black pepper. Okay? And try to mill it while you're putting it on, because fresh pepper, there's nothing like the fragrance of fresh pepper. Let me put that up there for you, and you can watch it cooking. You see it's cooking up very, very nicely. Slowly. There are so many things that you can make in this beautiful pan. Chicken fricassee. You can make beautiful, beautiful fish. You can poach your fish in here, begin it in this pan, and then bake it with vegetables in the oven, whole fish, okay? In our area we have beautiful Lake Superior whitefish. You can use a freshwater fish, you can use red snapper, Chilean bass with vegetables is excellent in this pan. Whatever you use, I'm telling you, will come out absolutely magnificent, because the heat is even throughout the pan. And I highly recommend, whatever pans you have, you should only be using these pans because of the way they're made and the property of the pan. Get rid of anything you have and just have these. My provincial egg omelet is ready to be served. I will take it over to my table, and I want you to see how beautiful it is and what a beautiful presentation it has. Now I'm going to place some here in my dish, and I'm also going to bring over to the table 2 slices of organic wheat bread that will be served with this wonderful omelet. To all of you, bon appetit, from my home to your home. Enjoy.